Former Alabama Governor Don Siegelman is here to talk about prisons in Alabama and also his experience being hunted by Karl Rove. Check it out. Leave your comments, ding the bell, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. I got an early copy of Stealing Our Democracy, How the Political Assassination of a Governor Threatens Our Nation by former Governor Don Siegelman, political prisoner number 1. It's available for pre-order, I'm sure, and wherever you find books. It's absolutely an amazing story. And the last Democratic governor of Alabama, 1999 to 2003, Don Siegelman, he was the lieutenant governor from 1995 to 99. He was the attorney general from 87 to 91, secretary of state from 79 to 87. This is a guy who knows politics. They were talking about him in 2002, 2003 as a potential Democratic nominee for the 2004 presidential run. And then he got in Karl Rove's sights. He challenged the machine, the Bush machine, and Karl Rove, who used to live in Alabama, took him down, sent him off to prison. And it's an amazing, amazing story. And on the line with us right now is Governor Don Siegelman. Don, welcome back to the program. It's been a while.
Oh, Tom, thank you. I'm glad to be back. I was listening to your show. I presume your listeners heard you reading about the witches earlier, and if they did,
only some of them did, Don.
What's that?
Yeah, our commercial that's just Phil that goes over the air on our non-commercial stations. Our commercial stations are hearing their local stations, so a lot of people don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I hope everybody. Anyway, my point is, everybody needs to register and vote. A lot of us are going to be having to vote absentee ballots, but whether it's absentee ballots or whether we get to vote in person, we need to, get in line, stay in line, demand an absentee ballot, demand to vote, and vote in this upcoming election.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about Oakdale Federal Prison, where you lived for 5 years, or where you were incarcerated for 5 years. First of all, how did you end up in jail for 5 years after 100 federal attorneys, state attorneys general, said what you did was not a crime? What happened?
Well, I was targeted because I was the one Democrat that Republicans couldn't beat fair and square. I won re-election in 2002 only to have the vote changed overnight by Karl Rove's client. Well, Karl Rove's client seized the ballots, refused to let me have a recount, which forced me to concede the election to my Republican. I made a pledge to come back and run again in 2006. It was at a time when Jeff Sessions was interested in running for governor, and it was his retired FBI agent, Sessions, who, of course, Trump appointed as Attorney General, had been U.S. Attorney in Alabama, and it was his retired agents who built the case against me, at first in 2004 and then again in 2006. The prosecutor was vetted by Karl Rove, and the attorney general who started the investigation was Karl Rove's client. The U.S. prosecutor who brought me to trial 1 month before the election, her husband was managing my opponent's campaign, and he was also Karl Rove's business partner, political partner in Alabama. I could go on. Jack Abramoff, who was Karl Rove's bagman, brought in $20 million from the Indian casinos across the Mississippi, just right next door, and they funneled that money into various organizations to bring me down. The judge was vetted by Karl Rove. Anyway, you get the story, get the picture.
Yeah, it's all in the book, and people really people really need to get this book, Stealing Our Democracy by Don Siegelman. Let's talk about Oakdale, if you don't mind. It seems like it's an epicenter for the coronavirus. What's the latest out of there? I'm guessing you're still in touch with people that you met there, that you knew there, and you're certainly paying attention to it.
I do get almost daily reports, usually through a third party, and they are expecting things to get worse. They're putting up a military-style tent on one of the prison grounds. According to the inmates, an entire dorm of 200 people have been quarantined. They're starting to take the temperature of, it's a little late, but starting to take the temperature of prison guards as they enter the prison. There's a whole wing in the hospital located in Alexandria, Louisiana, that's devoted to prison inmates. The situation is grim because it was grim before the virus. Inmates are stacked one on top of each other in bunk beds, sometimes three deep instead of just two bunk beds, one on top of the other. There's a third bunk bed on top of that. They're placed so close together you can actually reach out and touch the other bed when you're lying down. So it's an environment that's made to perpetuate a virus, and there's no protective shields or any way to prevent inmates from breathing in what's exhaled from another prisoner.
NPR this morning was reporting that only 9 inmates there have tested positive, 32 have symptoms, 64 have been exposed, 15 inmates hospitalized, 8 staff members testing positive. This suggests to me, if they're not testing every single person in that prison, that entire prison is going to just burn through that prison in short order. What can Americans do who are concerned about our brothers and sisters who are in prison all across the United States, Don?
Well, I think the most important thing is to do what I've been doing and writing and calling, texting and emailing members of the House and Senate Judiciary Committee. They have been active. They are working. Gerald Nadler is on top of it. But I think that the more people who express a concern about it, the more will be done. But the problem is that this is like shooting fish in a barrel for the virus. I mean, these people can't move. There's no place for them to be sequestered or isolated or quarantined where there's no way for them to maintain social distancing, even when they are laying in.
So we need to get people out of these jails now, right? I mean, isn't that a really important? We just have a minute until we're going to hit a hard break here. But isn't that a really important part of it, particularly in parts of the country where the virus hasn't spread through the entire prison population? Get those people out of jail.
Absolutely, nonviolent inmates who are in there for some petty crime ought to be released, put on home confinement. They've got electronic monitoring. This stuff could be, you could make a big difference in that way. Yeah.
I mean, otherwise we're going to have hospitals turning into massive morgues. I mean, and then on top of that, I'm thinking about all these children and young people who are being held in cages in concentration camps being run by ICE around the country. They're in the same boat, aren't they?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an incredibly dangerous situation. And, for those of us who are isolated, quarantined at home, you can walk to the refrigerator or go outside, but these people can't move. Yeah, it's a very, very bad situation. Former Alabama Governor Don Siegelman, his new book, Stealing Our Democracy, How the Political Assassination of a Governor Threatens Our Nation. And it really does. I've blurbed the book. It's brilliant. You need to get it. Don Siegelman, thanks for being with us, Don.